Wow, that's a lot of money. These things are in demand. In the last 24 hours, they sold 24 of these things. Holy crap, that means they made...
Welcome to Jasco Goods. If this is your first time here, good luck. You'll see. In today's video, I'm gonna do 3 things.
Math is hard.
I'm gonna build a massive giant charcuterie board that I saw on Etsy, and you're gonna be shocked when I tell you what they're selling this thing for.
Shocked. We're all shocked.
Woo! Then I'm gonna use this new shaper tool I got that you put on an angle grinder and you're like, "Wah, wah," and I'm gonna use to shape the charcuterie board. And I'm a little nervous because it looks a little dangerous to use. Third, I'm gonna try out this helical thickness planer that I got from this company called Find Buy Tools. That's the name of the company. Find Buy Tools. And it's a helical thickness planer, and it's supposed to be as good as the DeWalt thickness planer from other reviews I've seen, but at half the price. So let's try it out. Now, let's get to building. So I'm using this 2x8 that I had left over from when I did my little end table. And as you can see, it is twisted and bowed and cupped, and this should be perfect to try out in the helical planer. First, I just gotta cut it down.
I'm just gonna cut it in half because I need 2 4-foot sections. Then I just need a 5-foot section of this 2x4, and that's all the material I need for this whole project.
I set up my table saw to cut the rounded edges off of these boards first, but now I'm thinking I should run them through the planer first. See how twisted they are? I think it'd be better to get them flat before I run them on the table saw. So let me put this back and take out the planer.
So I've had this planer for a few months now, and I haven't even taken it out of the box and tried it out. And there's a few reasons for this. One, I just haven't had the time with all the small projects I've been doing. Secondly, I don't want my channel to be a bunch of tools that nobody has. I want to try to stick to the most basic tools I can. And third, and probably the most important thing, is I don't want my channel to be just me reviewing a bunch of tools that people send me. But you know, I decided that without even asking you guys. Do you guys like tool reviews? Do you guys want to see me do a few tool reviews in between builds? Let me know in the comments. And if you guys like these and you guys like the reviews I do, maybe I'll do a few here and there. Okay, so you remember that 1x8 I made my end table out of? That was really bowed. Like, look at this. I can spin it like a top. You can see the smile in it. Can you see that? I'm gonna run it through with the crown part up because it's flatter. I could set the 2 sides on the ground, but even these are not. So I gotta shim that up a little bit and then run it through. All right, it looks like 1 popsicle stick ought to do it. So I'm gonna stick 1 popsicle stick to the bottom side, run it through, and see how that works. But I don't know what the tolerances are, but you can kind of feel it when you go up on the edge. You can kind of feel it lift up a little bit. So I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments if you have ever leveled one of these. The platforms seem level. The middle plate seems to be lower all the way across, like consistently lower. So I don't know. I'm just gonna run this test piece through and see how it does. I noticed the depth adjustment feels a little bit clunky. You hear the clicking? There's like 1 spot where it like gets hung up a little bit. Okay, I'll start there. I asked my wife if I look like I was on a flight deck, like one of them Navy guys, and she said, no, but it looks like you shop at the Salvation Army.
Marriage is hard.
What kind of crap is that? Can't remember how many passes I did, but that looks pretty good, man. And I don't know if you can see the surface of this board is really smooth. Almost like I sanded it. I'm pretty impressed. For that price, coming with the helical head cutter, that came out really good. I'm just gonna pop off that popsicle stick and run it through. In full disclosure, I've never used a thickness planer before, so I don't know if this is better than any other thickness planer. But I showed you how bowed this board was, and you can see how good it came out. Well, look at that. It's a flat board. I don't think I've ever worked with a flat board before. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't think there's ever been a flat board in my workshop before. Look at that thing. Yeah, this planer works really good. I'm excited to make some stuff with some flat boards. Try my luck at that. Watch all my work be crap now. Not that it was that good before, but watch it be even worse. Now it's time to run my charcuterie boards through it. I'm really giving this planer a run for its money. I'm thinking rather than stack all the shims on one side, I need to split the difference, put some on one side and some on the other. I should probably be making a sled rather than using shims, but I don't have a piece of anything flat
at 4 foot long. So we're gonna try the shim method, see what it does. Because this is gonna be right on the bottom and then it's gonna hit a shim. So I don't know if this is a good idea, but I'm gonna give it a try because that's how I am. I like to do stupid crap and see what happens. Okay, responsible Jason came out and told me I should do a little test run, and when you slide this, it hits the shim. I hate that guy. He always makes me do stuff I don't want to do. So I found this piece of a melamine shelf I'm going to use to make a sled out of. Stupid staples and everything. Thanks, Home Depot.
And I'm just going to put this 1 2x2 at the end to keep the board from sliding off of it.
All right, guys, I have to say I'm a little nervous. It's my first time doing this, so cross your fingers for me.
So the first pass, I didn't have the blades low enough, so I had to like force the board through, which was good because as you can see, my supports fell off on the other side.
Okay, I don't think I had the blades down low enough, so it was just barely grabbing it and wouldn't pull it through. But also, I think this lip should go on the other side towards the planer. I've seen videos online where they say both. A lot of people put it in the back here, but I don't see what good it does you in the back. When it's pulling your board this way, it's gonna try to slide it off the board. So I'm gonna flip it around and see if that works any better. You guys let me know in the comments if that was wrong or what you guys think.
Okay, this ended up being quite the workout because I had to push the sled through, run to the other side, carry it back over. The sled must have weighed like 45 pounds. I was tripping over the hose for the vacuum every time. I almost lost a quarter of a pound. Luckily, I had an extra cheeseburger that night, and that did the trick. Other than all the running back and forth, everything was going really good. And then this happened. Did I just burn up the motor? Because this thing just stopped out of nowhere.
I think I cranked it down twice because you can see how much I try to take in one pass. And it stopped it. So hopefully I didn't burn the motor. Let's give it a try. It's getting smooth though. It's getting there.
So the motor was fine. All I did was blow the little GFI on my power strip back here. See, I just turned it back on and everything was good to go. I was worried. So after I reset the GFI on my power strip, it was time to get going. And then this happened. I blew a breaker.
All right, guys, I think this board is flat. Check this out. No wobble at all. That worked great. I mean, it took me 42 passes, but oh, beautiful. Now I just got to flatten the other side.
Other than forgetting to hook up my vacuum, I think this side went much easier. Not having to run back and forth with that heavy sled that I made. Now, obviously, I have to come up with a better system for planing these longer boards, but all in all, it went pretty good. Until I stepped on my dog.
Normally, it takes me a few months to fill this thing. I just emptied this a couple weeks ago. I just filled this. This is all from the planer, from that one board and then the little test board I did.
Okay, so now that I got all my boards planed down, I have to reorganize my garage so I can use my table saw. Anybody else with a small workshop have to do this kind of stuff when you want to switch from one tool to the other?
I may have bent one of the blades on this planer because I started getting a line down the same spot on my boards. So luckily they give you some extra blades. I don't know if I bent one or what happened. I don't know where I was getting that line from. Maybe something stuck in there. I have to open that up and see. So all I did was pull off these two knobs and then take this cover off. And then there's your blades right there. It's that easy to change them out. And they got a little switch over here so you can rotate them. But you see this right here? You see that nick in that one? Would that cause a line in my board? Anybody that's used one of these before? I think it's just as easy as rotating that, right? Let me know in the comments, guys. So in my opinion, man, this thing worked great. It came with these extra tools, extra blades. It did the job that I needed to get done. It was really clean. There wasn't a lot of snipe. The only time I was getting snipe is when I was trying to take off too much at a time. My sled was really heavy, and when it was hanging over, it was causing snipe in the back. But other than that, I think it worked good. Find Buy Tools. I'll leave a link in the description if you guys want to pick one up. Go ahead.
So now that I got all the boards flattened, it's time to cut off the edges and square them up so I can glue them all together. I was setting up my table saw to do that when this happened.
Son of a...
I blew the fuse again. I don't know why I said fuse. It's a breaker. This is an 1822. But whenever it gets cold in my garage, my breaker blows. So I think I need to replace it.
So my boards are all ready to glue up. I'm going to put down some parchment paper first so they don't stick to my workbench. I'm using these 2x4s as cauls, and they already have a bow in them going down in the middle. So I'm going to put that part down, so when I clamp it, it comes out straight and gives even pressure. Before I glue this up, I just want to show you, even though I used the planer and I cut them with the saw and I tried my best to get them flat, you can still see, look, see how the 2x4, it still has a bow in it. And there's a bit of a gap. See that? It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than, you saw how twisted they were. It's a lot better than it was, so I'm gonna go with that and see what I can do.
Now, if you don't have a planer, you could still make one of these. You don't have to have a planer for this. Like, if I made this 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have used a planer. I would have just made it. And I would have picked 2x10s that were less bowed and twisted than the ones I used. Plus, I'm going to use this contour thing, and I'm going to shape these up and give them some character. And when you see me do that, you're going to be like, why did he flatten these first? What a weirdo. I don't know if anybody caught that, but I almost used a word we used to use in the 80s and 90s to describe somebody that wasn't very smart that you can't use anymore.
So it didn't come out too bad. I got a little bit of a lip in some spots. Right now I'm going to fill in all these knot holes that I got with some CA glue. But other than that, I'm happy with the way it came out. One of my bottles of CA glue leaked in my container, and I don't know how it did it, but it kind of made all the rest of the CA glue go hard. I don't know what happened in this container. This one's not. But you see my toothpicks that I use? Everything glued to the bottom. I mean, it is glued to the bottom of this thing. This is what happens to some of the other bottles when I try to pry them out.
Let me know how you guys fill in your knot holes. I normally just put in a little sawdust, put a little CA glue on top of that, and let it dry and then sand it. It turns hard as a rock. My radiator blew a leak during this build, so I had to stop what I was doing and buy a new radiator and replace it, so that was fun. Yay. I decided to shorten the handle and make it rounded, and it doesn't really matter how good you do right here because I'm going to grind it all up with that wheel anyways. So this is the wheel I got. You just put it on your grinder. But before I whipped it out and just went crazy on my wood, I wanted to draw some contour lines on here. Just some areas I wanted to use it on, just to give myself a reference of where to go. I have to admit, I was really nervous about using this thing. Not just because I never used one before, but it seems kind of dangerous. Also, I had spent a lot of time flattening this wood in the thickness planer, and I really didn't want to mess it up with this thing. So now to really make this piece look like it came from an old barn from the 1800s, I'm going to use a hammer and nail and a couple other tricks to mar it up a little bit. And I just did this randomly. Wherever, I just let the piece speak to me and tell me where it wanted to be beat.
Yay.
And the next thing I did was sand everything down with my orbital sander. I started with an 80 grit and I worked my way to a 150. But to get inside all the grooves, I used this pad that I got off of Amazon. And it worked really good. It was a spongy material and it kind of makes it like a soft pad instead of the hard pad that you normally use. So it's good for going around corners and getting into grooves and everything. And you can use it with just your regular orbital sander with the hook and loop, whatever that Velcro is. And you just stick it on there and then stick your regular hook and loop sandpaper on top of that. And I'll leave a link to this and all the other stuff I use for this project in the video description, including that carving wheel that I used. And then if you guys use my links in the description, I do get a little bit of a commission for that. So if you're kind enough to use them, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Change. So it's hard to know how this is going to come out until I stain it. But I'm afraid I'm going to stain it and then I'm not going to like it because I'm not sure if I did enough contouring with the wheel. So I'm going to take different objects I have in my shop with different textures to them and go through and make more marks into the wood to give it like another layer of texture. So you'll have some marks that are faint because I sanded over them, but then you'll have some fresh marks that are darker. So just to give it a little bit more character. I'm also a little worried about the stain that I'm using because I'm using a dark walnut, but it's a classic stain, so it's just a regular oil-based stain. It's not any of the premium stains, so it tends to be a little bit blotchy and not as forgiving. And on this piece, with all these marks and everything, I think that the darkness of it will look good as it goes into the marks, but I'm worried that it's going to be blotchy. So we'll see. We'll have to see how it comes out and just cross your fingers, man. Between the contour wheel and the planer, this project really dusted my garage out. Everything is dusted with sawdust. My camera stand, my camera. My wife's gonna kill me if she sees the rug going into the house. Okay, this is the back of my charcuterie, whatever, how do you say it? This is the back of it. As you can see, I left it with no Mars, no contouring wheel, no scratches. I just stained it. So you guys can see the difference between this thing just stained and with the added character. So you guys can decide what you like better. Well, what do you guys think? I think the stain came out good. I think the dark walnut turned out to be a good call. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know if you liked it with all the Mars and the contouring wheel and the scratches and stuff.
Because it's a charcuterie board and not a cutting board, I'm going to use a water-based polyurethane matte finish.
So I had to let this dry for a couple of days because I'm doing a water base over top of an oil base. And it's the classic stain. It's not the newer stains that dry faster. And then it ended up being Thanksgiving. I wanted to get this done by Thanksgiving, but I didn't make it. And today is the day after Thanksgiving, so that's Black Friday. I'll tell you, those day after Thanksgiving dumps are no joke. I wonder if that's why they call it Black Friday. I bet you it is. Well, bam, a charcuterie board. What is it?
A charcuterie board.
A cracker board. Well, bam, what do you guys think? My giant charcuterie board, right? Cheese and cracker board. I wanted to have it all fixed up with cheeses and different meats and all kinds of stuff on here. My wife was like, you're not playing with all my food. So she gave me one Lunchable and a bread heel. But you get the idea, right? I mean, imagine it with all your favorite spreads and you got it out at your Christmas party. I think it's pretty cool. It's a little bit too big for my countertops, but hey, some of you guys might want to use this. Now for the unbelievable part. Let me show you what this thing is going for online.
Oh, I'm really sorry. I was Christmas shopping. Okay, look at this. These are going for $351 and they're in demand. Holy mackerel. 24 people have bought these in the last 24 hours. That means in the last 24 hours, well, wrap me in aluminum foil and call me iron deficiency man. They made $8,424. Good gracious.